65 and over.
Because the ball moves so slow?
Yeah, and it's a smaller court, and you don't really have to run. You can just go boom.
Yeah, but you just think about how soft our generation's gotten. It just makes sense.
Coming from a 27-year-old.
30.
What's that? You're
I'm 30. Yeah.
Oh,
I was going to
that's
say,
right.
you're only 27.
That's right.
That's crazy.
Jackson.
Wow, you're in my
I
bracket.
forgot. You guys are 2 years apart.
Yep.
You and that other guy, horse ass.
Horse ass.
29.
Who needs him?
No, he's 32.
He's 32. Oh, okay. Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense. 32. How does he feel about us calling him horse ass? I don't know if I really care because, he calls me a bitch every once in a while. And stuff like
think
that.
I'm probably more bothered by it because I don't think you guys realize it's flat. Maybe it's wide.
His ass is
but
not flat.
It goes straight from his lumbar to his sacrum to his femurs. There's just...
So you say it's just a place where his legs meet.
Yeah. He has
Nice.
no anterior posterior definition. You guys are all about the
When he sits on the
horizontal.
bike, it forces his legs forward, and then he's got like this giant slit with two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
You guys have some serious issues that you got to get through because your brother has an ass, and he is an ass.
Yes.
Sam's not here in case anybody was wondering.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before we begin, it's that time to mention a few great friends of the podcast. Scratch Labs, you guys. Great tasting, easy digesting, high carb options for fueling your rides. They also have bars, chews, and cookie mix. I got to order the cookie mix. Absolute best from scratch. Trust me, tell them Packfiller sent you. Next off, Giro Sport, the original instigators of the helmet revolution. Great fit, great flow, and great style. Shoes, forget about it. The beautiful design, stiffness, fit, and lightweight of Giro shoes is unparalleled. Giro when things matter. And finally, Untapped Maple. Pure Vermont maple is the base, and the quick, great tasting energy is the reward. Truly a great way to fuel. Grab some packets or fill a flask. That sounds alcoholic. Maybe that's just because that's what I think. Untapped is brilliant. Use the Packfiller link, please. I don't really get anything, but I just like them to know that they came from us. Jackson, your beer looks like you've just been slamming it back. Kabow.
Who's to say I haven't been?
Yeah. Who's to say nobody's looking?
History.
Let's play bikes, everybody. Well, things are still holding on here in the Pacific Northwest. The colors have changed, the rides are still happening, and the indoor trainer is still dusty. I got on mine yesterday, though, so... Let's settle in, pour a beverage, and have a seat in the rim break bar and see who's here for this week's edition of the Packfiller Cycling Podcast. I'm Pat Bulger. Let's see who's here with tonight's prologue question. Gentlemen, if you could give your 16-year-old self any advice, what would it be? Sit down with that little 16-year-old shithead and say, hey, fill in the blank. I'm holding gaps just so I can give Paul a second. Do you got your advice already?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Because you always get the first introduction. We're going with a living proof theme tonight. He's living proof that the fountain of youth lies somewhere in the mix of Belgian beer and intervals, Mr. Paul Main.
Well, that's not so true.
Dude, you fucking kicked my ass this weekend, and I am younger than you, so it's...
Not by much. Mind you.
That's true. That's true, but you still... God damn, I'm going to get to it, but you guys are so mean. So mean! Paul, what advice would you give your 16-year-old self?
I'd say self. When you get a chance to go to France to race your bike, take it. Because otherwise, you're going to marry a practice wife.
That's good advice.
That is good advice.
Yeah.
Nah, I would. Where I'm at now, if that's the path I had to take, to be honest, I'm glad I did.
You always wonder about that, what it would have been,
Yeah, and, it could have spoiled me. I could have.
Yeah.
I know like two people that actually raced in Europe, and when they came back, they said, "No, not going to do it. Done."
But
and
you
they
could
don't
have
even touch the bike anymore.
Oh shit. Okay. Well, there you go.
A guy named Mike and a guy named Nicholas.
Oh yeah. Okay. Next, he's living proof that although gross, not shaving your legs does not negate your claim to be a cyclist. Mr. David Waples, how are you, man?
Is it really that gross?
Yeah.
Well,
dude,
we are the weirdos here who shave. We're the men who shave their legs.
Did you shave?
Pull
No.
those socks up quite a ways.
Well, I do pull my socks up, but gotta pull them up all the way.
What are those, like, compression?
No, they're
That keeps the fluid from building up.
they're gold-toed dress socks.
Edema.
I knew I was
Elephant
setting
ankles.
myself up for the joke when I pulled up my
Second
pants.
the
Like I'm
leg
like
came
going,
out.
Nice
I was like
looking
going,
ankles there, buddy.
what the hell, man? Got to make the show funny. I'll be the butt of the jokes.
Well, Sam's
think
not
I'm-
here, so I
Yeah,
have to kind
that's
of
true.
kick it in.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gross. It's gross. I think it's gross.
Well,
Your
just
wife
trying to give
doesn't,
you
though.
more of a draft. That's all.
Oh.
Just trying to help you out a little.
So your
nice
hair,
of
you trip the air
Yeah.
for us. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's
Trying to make it
just
easier.
making dirty air.
Yeah.
What would you say to your 16-year-old self?
Oh man, I don't even know what I was doing when I was 16.
Yeah.
It wasn't that far ago compared to my 16.
Actually, it was less than half my life ago. So
Yeah.
What's the joke? Eating Cheetos and masturbating?
Yeah. Orange hands.
I don't know this joke, but okay.
Doc, why is my penis orange?
Oh well.
What have you been doing all day?
I was gonna say I think I would have told myself to start riding my bike sooner because I didn't start till I was like 20, 21 with bikes.
Oh.
But honestly,
Dude.
I liked doing other sports when I was younger. I think it might be for the better, like then I didn't come into college. There was some kids in college who came in like they were really fast. They did all the high school stuff and they quit by their like junior year. Never started riding again. So
Fools. That's just because they're open-minded and experimental.
yeah.
Yeah.
You got to get that out of the way early though. with
Dig
other
yourself
things.
in a hole and just stay there. That's my theory.
Oh well, yeah.
It's worked
It
so
would
far.
work. Yeah, look at you.
Yeah. Technically, is the studio a hole?
Yeah.
Okay, Jack. Thanks, Jackson.
Essentially.
Yeah. Next off, he's living proof that your genetic makeup does not come from just your dad, Mr. Jackson Bolger.
I had so many leading questions off of just that one little
I
intro.
thought I'd just self-deprecate as much as possible.
Gosh,
Well,
yeah.
Before you guys got me, we're only 6 minutes in. I might as well beat myself to shit.
Yeah. I feel like we haven't been that hard.
Yeah.
I feel like you've been harder on yourself.
Yeah.
You.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First of all, for those watching on video, nice haircut, nice high and tight there. I like
Thanks.
It. I like
Thanks.
it.
Yeah. Good change.
Yeah. 16-year-old Jackson. I knew you win.
Well, you knew me all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even with that glit in your eye.
Yeah,
I got
yeah.
started.
I would probably tell myself, I know that one of the other members of the room has also taken a similar path.
Mm-hmm.
Theater's not the choice for me, buddy. Do it in high school, but
Really?
yes, yeah.
Was-
I enjoyed the experience of what it was like to witness people that were like in love with a craft.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that after a while, I began to see like the image through all of the smoke.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it was just kind of like, I remember going to shows and being like, I don't get it anymore. I
Okay.
don't have that spark in me anymore. And so I think that now in the current career that I'm in, I kind of wish I took a little bit of a different path.
Which would have been
Education.
education.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Early childhood education.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah.
Mhm.
I can see what you say. Then I don't want to go too far into this because this isn't a podcast about being a theater
Right.
teacher. But I do remember in college very specifically that there was like the people who could not shut it off and they wanted the attention and it was constantly competitive. And so I just found a bunch of really goofy people who weren't even in the theater department and started creating stuff with them,
Yeah.
sketch comedy and stuff like that, just because. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, for anybody listening who's thinking about doing something like that, it's not that it's a
Don't
bad,
do it.
No,
Don't.
yeah.
Please, for the love of God.
Yeah.
Look where I am.
Oh my God.
No,
yeah.
it's not that it's a bad idea. It's just you got to have the spark for it.
Yeah.
You got to have the passion for it, or because if you're leaning one way or the other, I think
Yeah.
that it'll eventually kind of fizzle a little.
Yeah, don't do theater, don't do journalism because they're just dead. Yeah, nobody's going to care. It's all STEM now.
It sounds so sad.
Shit. Yeah.
Chat GPT.
Yeah,
gonna
exactly.
Can write an essay in seconds.
Yeah. Yes, I am living proof that cycling is in fact 50% mental. And if you read that right, you'll get the joke. I'm Pat Bolger, and my advice to myself would be to not date that one girl who shall not be mentioned. That was a mistake, and she's upstairs right now. No, I'm kidding. Honey, are you listening? No, I'm kidding. No, it was another one, and she, she was crazy.
I probably could have given myself the same advice too.
Yeah, we all have one of
but
those.
You got
right?
yeah, but that's not.
Yeah, but I married mine.
That's true.
the practice one. Yeah.
You guys got nothing.
Ugh.
Gentlemen, we all got a beautiful ride in on Saturday, and I want to know how your training is coming along. But first off, I wanted to ask, and this is what I talked about earlier in the intro, how you guys are all feeling fitness-wise right now. Where are you in comparison to your, quote, in-season, end quote? Paul's like, I suck. I'm terrible.
Well, yeah.
You're
I mean,
gonna say,
it's like,
Jesus.
could we, if I put myself now into a race, even a Tuesday night, I would not be, or Thursday night was this week.
Oh, right,
but,
Yeah.
yeah. I'd be
Really?
suffering. Yeah.
David?
I don't feel good anymore. I mean, like
This is a guy who just came off 2 weeks ago winning the
cyclocross series.
over like
Yeah.
a professional. Well, I don't know if he's a professional mountain biker in cyclocross.
Fast dude.
I don't know.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It doesn't feel. I'm looking down and seeing some good numbers, but it doesn't feel good.
Really?
Like I feel heavy in the legs while I'm doing it. It doesn't feel easy right now, and I think it's just the getting tired going into winter.
Okay.
So,
All right. Jackson?
I feel pretty good. I don't know. I do feel good. I think that there are better numbers than I was happy with. I think that pre-crash, I'm feeling even better than I was then. I think Paul, you mentioned all the time cramming for a test. I feel like that's what it was early season last year, and then I just kind of rode that out a little bit. But post-crash, I feel way better than I did when we were in Montana. So yeah.
I PR'd 9 segments on that ride we went on Saturday. And
you guys got a KOM.
And
wish I could have been there.
Yeah. David, you were there.
Yeah.
And you just didn't
In spirit, I
charge
guess.
your computer. And we KOM'd like a 10-mile stretch. Wasn't it that long?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
Part of which, and this is funny, you guys were saying your legs felt heavy. I stopped for a couple seconds. Dude, I swear to God, I thought my brakes were rubbing because prior to that,
That's what
I was
I
just
said.
Yeah.
you guys.
I hear you saying it.
I was like looking at me, thinks his brakes are rubbing.
I was just like going, why do I suck so bad today? You guys were just dusting me on that gravel section. I'm just going, what is wrong?
It's gravel. That's where you just smash it.
I
You
was
ride at
smashing.
90%.
If you don't
Yeah.
smash it, it'll smash your taint.
Yeah.
That's pretty true.
Yeah, the harder you push, the less it pushes on your taint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My taint had nothing to do with it.
Well,
Taint, no taint. It was seriously, you guys dropped me, and then I stopped in that section, and I did. I got off my bike, I just spun the rear wheel, I'm like, fuck, it's not my brakes. And so I just got on and, quoting Sam, told myself to stop being such a little bitch, and then I pedaled harder. And we flew on that section, and that's why I'm like going, these guys are KOMing stuff right now, and being nice to Pat. And you guys are still saying you're that far away from fitness.
We had
And I
a
hate
good
you for
tailwind on that. That helped.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I will say it's interesting riding a gravel section on a road bike because you think the entire time you're like, you got to be in the draft. And I found that it was almost better for me to be outside
Find
of
your
your
line.
draft.
So you
Yeah.
see the road.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you guys consciously go for rides to challenge KOMs?
No.
No.
Do you have any that you were like, okay, this is a stretch that I really want to, I know I'm close on this one or something like that? You don't chase them at all.
No.
I think there's times where if the condition's right, I don't usually do it on a group ride, but if it's me riding and I know that, there's a segment,
Yeah.
then I'll try and see where I'm at. I'm not getting any KOMs unless I'm with somebody anymore.
Yeah.
But, most of my KOMs in the early days were solo rides. I mean, they were just riding. I wasn't,
yeah.
segment searching. But nowadays, it's got to be, and everybody does it now.
Yeah.
I mean, my KOMs are wiped out, and all you have to look at the reader board, and you look at their date, and they're all riding together, and they're like,
Yeah.
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 So,
I still want Hatch. That's the only one I like.
I won't climb
That's
Hatch.
I think Pat
Up or
has
down?
that, doesn't he?
Who?
Pat.
Yeah, I think so.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Not this
up.
Pat. Not
No,
this
yeah,
Pat.
okay.
I know who Pat. Yeah.
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 Pat O.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. I had it a while back. That's the only one that, like, for some reason, I haven't gone back to do it though because it's a terrible road to ride now.
That's one of those roads that has
Yeah.
become so populated from housing areas down there that you just don't want to ride it
Do it
anymore.
in
The
the
shoulder
morning.
disappears too.
Oh yeah, there's no
Mhm.
shoulder. Yeah, you'd
Yeah.
have to do it the right time of day, and then, right wind and all that.
Mhm.
Because the people that are at the top.
How about this?
How
How
fast?
yeah? How often do you guys PR? Do you guys hit PRs?
I think that every time that I ride in a group, I usually get one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find that the group of us always push each other on some sort of,
Yeah.
of segment, but when it's alone, I never get a PR.
Really?
Rarely.
I
I
think-
always try, but
I think that's partially because, like, you tend to ride your rides the same way. And so,
For sure.
like, you do a river loop and you go hard at certain points,
yeah.
but now you ride with somebody else and they go hard at different points. And so all of a sudden they force you to PR somewhere where you would have been going soft.
yeah.
But yeah, when you just ride your ride the same way, it's hard to get a PR anymore.
Yeah. Never thought about it that way.
Do you guys consider it a motivational tool or a genuine training tool, or is it just something to screw around with?
Segment.
Yeah.
I personally have like certain loops or certain sections where I'm just watching me tumble down my fit. I mean, just
Yeah.
from age.
Yeah.
So I know I'm maximized where I'm going anaerobic, and it's like I'm like 30 seconds slower than I was in 2012. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's about the only time. But I don't go out there.
You're
I
no
think
Phil
I'm-
Guyman.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I think some of them, like Mount Spokane, I always, if I can get a PR on Mount Spokane, I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
Those days are gone for me.
Yeah.
I don't really use it for a training tool.
Really, I have a couple that I put into my Wahoo. That
Your driveway?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, of course.
yeah.
I don't even have that anymore. David brought his e-bike.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
And
that's
I
right.
took my PR on my driveway. But no, I have a couple climbs that are in, and part of me is like, I want to take them off but I like checking when I get home, but I don't want to get to the base of a climb and all of a sudden beep, 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 okay, you're, 10 seconds behind your pace and stuff like that. Cause I don't know if I want that demon on my shoulder. I just want to kind of ride the climb how I am at that moment. But I don't know. There's, Paul, you and I grew up in the days of little to no data. Mm-hmm. I mean, your training diary consisted of taking your heart rate when you were in your bed before you sat up. You take your heart rate again when you stand up, and you mark the difference, and you give yourself a score, and that was it. And if you were lucky, you had an Avocet computer that told you your speed and your mileage.
But no memory on it.
No.
It was just.
Was that heart rate thing like a fatigue score?
Yeah, because the larger the gap, usually you could rate yourself on, so if every day between lying down and standing up was a 5-beat difference, but then today I stood up and it was an 8-beat difference. It's a measuring tool to show you, okay, I'm obviously fatigued from the training.
Or dehydrated.
There's that too.
Yeah. But this was, it was fairly archaic, but it was a way to monitor how things were going. But that was it. That was the data.
I think too.
Once a year, you got a VO2 test, and that was it. If you were lucky.
Yeah, and I didn't until I was like in my late 20s. But
Yeah.
I think like for us, segments were mainly guys that your group rides and stuff who you beat. You didn't know what your time was.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't have time to look down at your Avocet saying I'm averaging whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, there wasn't any collective, like average. You could get an average speed thing, but that's for your whole ride, not the hill. Or
Yeah.
break things down. And so I remember at Hatch, speaking of Hatch Road, one guy asked me, a local guy who can climb, and he says, "What's your fastest time up there?" I don't even carry a watch. I don't carry an Avocet. I don't have anything. I don't know.
Yeah.
All I have to do is beat the guy that's in front of me. That's
Yeah.
what I was. That's how I was, trained.
Yeah. So backtrack. How'd your training week go, you guys? How's the last 7 days been on the bike?
I've been kind of in and out of like little colds, as I
Oh.
think I mentioned a couple of weeks ago.
Aw, children.
I know. Well, I got sick a lot last year, and now I think my immune system's like, okay, we can actually fight colds now. So I think I'm just writing like little like sinus,
Yeah.
kind of that type of
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
But so I've been trying to stick to 3 days, but it gets difficult with that added fatigue of a cold.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been kind of teetering between 2 and 3, mostly indoor, which has been great. It's nice this time of year when it's dark outside and you don't want to have to rush
Yeah.
around. But I know that, David, you have a lot more motivation in that, which is great.
Well, last week I did. I don't know about this week.
Yeah? What was this week?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just,
tired.
I'm just pooped for some reason. It just catches up with you
No,
eventually.
you're training. How many rides you get in
Oh,
over the
well,
last 7 days?
I did a couple night rides, and then I actually got off early Friday, so I rode Friday, and then we rode Saturday, mountain bike Sunday,
Wow.
and then I rode today. So I think I got probably 5 or 6.
Wow.
But
Shit.
maybe that's why I feel tired.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I believe I rode last Tuesday, and then I got my new trainer, so I tested that out on RGT.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Did some intervals on that, and then Saturday's ride the following day.
Yeah.
Nice.
That
I
was
will
it.
say it was great to go outside with everybody.
Oh,
it's a
I'd
great
missed
ride.
I'd missed that, and I love that we're now kind of like stopping afterwards and kind of
Chit-chat.
hanging
Yeah.
out and like
Having a
posting
beer.
it. Yeah.
Season of stopping for beers. Now, personally, I'm going to be the guy next year in like April, May, June, July, and August going, why aren't we stopping for beers?
I don't think there's anything wrong with
Yeah.
doing
Yeah,
that.
well, we used to do it. Why don't we do it anymore?
Yeah. Pat, we're trying to get fast.
It's the start of the season, Pat.
That's dumb.
Yeah,
That's
but we're done
dumb.
riding, so
Yeah.
fastness
Yeah.
is all done.
Yeah. We're still in our chamois.
We need some carbs.
Chamois,
Yeah.
chamois time is training time. We're still sitting here in our shorts.
Yeah.
So we're good. I actually am on a system training program that is 3 weeks on, 1 week off. And this last week was technically my week off. And I've been trying, my goal was to program my body to get up an hour earlier than I normally do. And I've been doing pretty good at it. But last week, I was looking at the system workouts, and it's like, 28 minutes in zone 2. And I'm like, fuck that, I'm sleeping in. So I'm not going to lie, I skipped some of those workouts last week because I was like going, I'm sleeping in this week. But this week I'm back at it. And Monday, yesterday I did get on the trainer, did a workout. Today I did a strength training workout and realized that I've got it's just starting all over again when you neglect it for so long. But so I've got, my training program is like 3 rides a week, 2 strength days a week, and 2 yoga days a week. So it's, but some of, the strength training thing that kind of kicked my ass today was only like 28 minutes, 30. No, it's like 32 minutes long. It's just like boom, 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 boom. It's quick and to the point. And I still am so used to thinking that 30 minutes is nowhere near enough to do any benefit. So that's kind of a hurdle I'm getting over. But it's good. And so I'm getting up on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, seeing how long I can do that.
30 minutes.
5 a.m.
30 minutes is great.
Really?
30 to 45. That's what I'm saying. That's all I do all winter. It's like a very valuable 30 minutes, though.
Yeah.
I mean, look at runners. They go for like a 30-minute to an hour run.
But a marathon is an average ride for in terms of time you're talking about, though. So you're comparing apples and oranges.
But that's because of intensity. Like the difference. So you can go for like a 30, 40-minute run because you can run in a very intense fashion and get a good workout. The problem with riding outside in 30 to 40 minutes is getting to the place in which you can actually train that hard. But on a trainer, you can hop on and you can just get your workout in immediately, just like as if you were running, and then you can just get off.
And to back that up, even our training series, that's 35, 45 minutes long.
That's
We're
like
done.
The
Yeah.
races.
Yeah, we're done.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, you could ride out there if you want or drive, whatever, but like really it's that 30, 40 minutes that counts for building.
Mm-hmm.
So
How do you guys stay motivated? How are you guys trying to find a way? I mean, now it's probably new, right? It's like, okay, hold on to the fitness, keep things going. I'm motivated to keep going. How are you guys going to handle the darker days, November, December, January, February, what's going to keep you going?
Well, I will say something at least that works for me is that we were like kind of pushing our bodies for so many months. I mean, God, from what? March to like September,
Yeah,
you know, so
yeah.
that's a long period of time to really be working it. And I think that it's just kind of a mental break from always having to be on about like going outside, really pushing it on every single ride you do, because it's the season now.
Yeah.
But now it just kind of feels like, this is like more of a treat.
Okay.
Funnily enough, it feels like it's just something to keep me like active, and it kind of boosts my mood a little bit, so that helps. But I've been finding it fun, oddly enough, to just kind of have some sort of exercise, and maybe it doesn't need to take as long, because then you get to come back and you get to relax.
Yeah.
Like you said, you get a really a short amount of time with a great workout, and then you can just sit on the couch and do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
The super hard shit early in the morning is not easy, though.
It is
You know, when you know you've got a brilliant intensity interval-based workout at 5 o'clock in the morning.
miserable.
Right. And that's why I move mine always to like 4-ish, because then I can, after I do it,
Yeah.
I just get to have dinner and not do anything anymore.
Yeah. I can't do that, so I have to do it in the
Right.
mornings.
I like to pair it with pair a workout with something like a beer or a nice meal.
Like a treat.
If I ride, I can go have a beer. If I ride, I can go out and get one of my favorite
That's-
takeout meals.
There you go.
That's a good way to keep motivated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Right there.
reward
I don't
yourself
know
with
if
the
it's
takeout meal.
healthy. I don't know if that's healthy. Just saying, but
Yeah.
Well, you're just regaining the calories that you just had burned. You know?
But you're still on keel. You're still on zero. So if I eat 1,000 calories, but I burned 1,000 calories, I'm still the same guy I was when I got up this morning.
Yeah, it's better
Right?
than not doing anything.
Yeah.
Then you
Yeah.
just consumed 1,000 calories,
Yeah.
and now you're in the hole.
Right?
Yeah.
Yep.
There you go.
and the hole doesn't fit
no.
because of those calories.
All right, let's. I got the new bumpers. So we're going to jump to tonight's topic, brought to us by our friends at Cycle Systems Academy. Oh my gosh, you guys, if you think, and it's funny that we have the bike in the background, because Cycle Systems Academy is going to teach you how to take care of everything. Get to Cycle Systems Academy. Use the link at packfiller.com. Trust me. So, the state of the LBS is my first topic for tonight. The state of the local bike shop. COVID saw a boom. Bikes were the things to get. Apparently, a lot of people did. Since then, supplies have slowly come back, and bike shops appear to have weathered the storm. Well, some of them at least. So let's get honest with things that work and don't work in the bike shop industry. And this might be kind of insulting to some of our friends who are in the bike shop industry, but I think it's a voice about what's going on and why people tend to why they're going online. Gentlemen, what was the last major purchase you made in a bike shop? Last major purchase.
I purchased my wheels,
There you go.
which was a pretty hefty purchase
Sure.
from one of our local
Your
bike
Reynolds
shops.
wheels. Yeah. You can plug them.
No, I know.
Mojo.
Oh yeah, I bought
Yeah.
them from Mojo. They're really nice about it, and yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's. I would rather do it that way.
Okay. You would. I would too.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be honest. I'm finding, I really want to support the local bike shop, but sometimes it's, the allure of the ease, and it shows up on my front door.
Yep.
And
Especially if you know what you want.
yeah.
I knew I wanted a new Prevail, S-Works Prevail, because I know that helmet works well for me. I've been planning to buy one. We had a trip coming up. It was like 2 weeks from the trip. I was like, I want this helmet. It was for that bike packing trip to the San Juans. And I'm looking on Backcountry. I'm looking at the local bike shop. It's the same price. I was like, well, I'll just get it from the local bike shop since I'm not in a hurry. I've got 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I put an online order in on the bike shop because they didn't carry it, unfortunately. They didn't have any in stock. And I was like, 2 weeks should be plenty. It was supposed to come in a week. And I was pretty dang frustrated when 2 weeks rolled around. I'm leaving for my trip, and it's still in transit somewhere
Yeah.
when I could have bought it online for the same price and had it in 2 days. And, there was some issues with Specialized is nothing against the bike shop. They did everything
No.
they could, but like the way that Specialized had their inventory overstocked at that time, they were marking things as back ordered because they could not physically get to them in their warehouse. Like they were behind so much other product, they just marked it back ordered. And maybe that's what happened with this helmet. But I'm sitting there, I'm just like, I could have just ordered it from Backcountry, had it in 2 days. Instead, like I waited, tried to go through the local shop, and it was a bit of a bummer because I didn't get it for the trip that I wanted to have the helmet for. But
Yeah.
so it's an unfortunate convenience of online shopping, but you have to know what you want for that to actually be
Sure.
a viable option. When you don't know what you want, when you need expert advice, especially on mechanical things or what the best shoe is, what the best helmet is, then that's an invaluable part of a bike shop that probably won't go away.
Paul, what'd you buy from a bike shop recently?
It's a seat post for my.
Yeah, you were scrambling to get that whole thing ready.
Even online was trying
Yeah.
hard, and I used the local bike shop. You
Yeah.
know, they have access to.
Did they have it in stock?
No, and that comes to like part of the problem with owning a bike shop. Working at a bike shop, used to back in the 80s and 90s, you had it in stock,
Yeah.
and it was pretty simple. And now the complexity of just putting together that Cervelo, there's no way a bike shop can have everything that I need for that particular bike.
Yeah.
And to stock all that, there's no way. You sent that retailer magazine, article and stuff. And I'm thinking, and here's an incident when mail order became big before the internet. There's a local guy came in to the bike shop I was working at. We were a high-end bike shop. And the hardest thing to get people fit for is a saddle. How do you tell them? You don't know what it is. And so talk to him. I spent a lot of time. And margins, if you understand margins, those type of products are very, very small. So what's tied up in when you sell, your profit goes into me selling it, the taxes and the labor that's all involved with that's thrown in there. So you get a small piece of the pie. In order to make, with low margins, in order to make a lot of money, you had to sell lots of them, which means you're going to have a lot in stock. And if it's not what people want or the new product, like nowadays, every year there's something new is hot.
Yeah.
And you're sitting on a bunch of turds.
I got a case full of seat posts backstage back in the storeroom that nobody wants anymore because it's the wrong color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in this case with the particular seat, flight saddles were the rage.
Sure.
And then I was talking about them. We finally got one in. It was for another customer on a custom bike. I had him look at it, blah, blah, blah. I probably spent maybe 5 hours in like within a month. He would come in periodically and look at it. And then I never saw him.
And a saddle.
It's just a saddle. But back then it was expensive because saddles used to only be about $45-$50.
Yeah.
You started getting titanium railed stuff. Flights were like $150, $160, and people were like, "Are you kidding?" Now that's a cheap saddle.
Yeah.
It's like,
I'd be like, give me that now.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, but that's
like
one of those things.
A rock on a stick.
Here, use your thumb.
Yeah.
But he came in on his mail order bike that he bought after we talked about componentry and stuff. He bought everything online. And he wanted it tuned up because it came from the factory. And I looked, and there's a brand new saddle, flight saddle. We got $0 and about 5 hours of my labor tied in. There's no way you can make money on that. So I'll take it to construction really quickly here. I went down to Carhartt. I tried to do local, even though Carhartt's not a local, manufacturer.
We have
people that are employing
a storefront
people
down here. Yeah, yeah.
And so I thought I'd go there. And I have an unusual size. I have long legs and, a skinny waist for my longer legs. And they're like, well, we just have a few of those. But you can go online. You can go right here. And I'm like, that's why I'm here.
I could have done this from my living room. Yeah,
and that frustrated me. But in order for it to be profitable, they have to hit mainstream, normal, everyday use stuff. And then you can order, they can't stock it because it'll sit on the shelves for oddballs like me. So, and I think bike shops are the same thing. Every bike has 2 to 3 different colors. Then you have sizes, and then bikes are the worst thing for a bike shop to have to make money.
Well, and that's what there's a social media group that forwarded this article from the bicycle retailer recently about the fact that that many bike shops are straying away from what they call the big four manufacturers: Trek, Specialized, Giant, and this group called the Pawn Group, which is Cannondale, Santa Cruz, Cervelo, things like that. I don't know all the brands within that group. And the fact that they're straying away, shops are straying away from that because of the fact that these larger companies tend to make bike shops maintain a specific amount of inventory. So if I got a Cannondale dealership, I have to buy 30 bikes or something like that. And these guys are going, I have 1,000 square foot shop. I have a very tight budget. I don't have, what's going to happen, like you said, Paul, when the new color comes out and I don't have that on my floor. You tell me I got to buy 40 new bikes in order to have them in that color. It just doesn't make financial sense. And and then you think about it when you go into your local shops. I don't know about you the listener where things are, but I'll go into a shop and let's say I'm shopping for a helmet or shoes or a kit. I can't tell you the last time I bought any of that from an LBS because they just don't carry it anymore.
And for good reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just a bizarre business model because the shop's business now is almost entirely based upon service.
Yeah. I mean, you and I had a conversation very similar to this the other day about particular items that are very personal. I mean, helmet you mentioned and shoes you mentioned too. I find that you always want to try on a pair of shoes before you put 1,000+ miles on it in a year, but you can't anymore. You can't anymore because it's just not around. I mean, if I wanted to try on my Giros, you can't find a place within this town to do it. As well with POC. That's a very vital component, I at least feel, of my riding. And I couldn't tell whether that was going to fit my very large head. Yeah, it's admittedly so, but I also think that it kind of takes it to another level, though, of like, if you want to stock those very pro specialty items, you're also going to kind of lose a large base of your business as a shop. I mean, we went in Seattle, Paul and Dad, the three of us, we all went to a shop in Seattle, and they had very roady, racy type of products in that store. Yeah. And instantly, I looked at it and I was like, this is catered totally towards me. I love this. I love all this stuff that's here because I'm a roadie. I'm a racer. I love all this stuff. But then,
how the hell are these guys making money?
Exactly.
They don't have inventory, though. Think about it.
No.
They just had a couple of show bikes and you ordered from that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when Joan comes out off the street looking for a bike and they come in there and you see a $15,000 Pinarello e-road bike, she's going to walk right back out and go to REI. It's a really complicated subject.
You got to find I think a bike shop has to know their niche.
Yeah.
I think Mojo's done a good job with gravel.
Sure.
And they carry other things too. But
That was
I think
a brilliant idea. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's some places in town that do a really good job on mountain bikes. Yeah. You can't do it all. I think, like you're talking a small square footage and being service, you make money on labor. Yeah. Repairs. So that's where you make your money. Yep. The theory used to be if you don't sell a bike, then you're not going to get their repairs. Yeah. And the place that I was at when I was doing like a spiel on a bike, and the competitive bike was a Trek that was at a different bike shop. I said, hey, whatever you choose, just be happy. But we work on all bikes. I always said that. Whether you come back, because some people are afraid. It's like, you spent so much time, or I thought you're a nice person, but I like this bike other, and then you don't see them. They say, hey, no problem. Yeah. I have friends that ride a Trek. I don't like them, but
the friends or the
bike.
Yeah. Well, and you run into that situation where I've heard tales of people saying that if you buy a bike from online or somebody else, we're not going to work on it. That is basically digging your own grave as a bike shop.
Oh, yeah.
Where a lot of these shops are saying, hey, order online, ship it to us.
Sure.
We'll charge you for assembly. We'll have it ready to go. We'll dial it in, and we'll give you a service, for the first 5 years, kind of a guarantee or something like, not 5 years, 1 year. But, I mean, that's a way you can embrace it. And all of a sudden, I don't have to stock any inventory. I don't have any bikes in the back that are rusting or anything like that. Do you guys stay loyal to a shop, or do you bounce around?
It depends on... I guess I bounce around because I was going to say it depends on the job needing done.
Sure.
I find that for repairs, I will go to one shop, or for product, I'll go to another shop.
Yeah.
It just kind of depends. I mean, I will admit, because of the readily available inventory, I will sometimes go to REI. I know that's I know that's bad, but
That's all right. They're laying off some people, so they need the help.
Yeah. But like, I'll get my tires there, for instance. I'll 9 times out of 10 buy my tires from there. So yeah.
You guys bounce around, or are you low?
I'm pretty low. I'm very loyal. I try and stay loyal as much as possible. But in a pinch, I'll go to another bike shop. But usually there's...
Where do you usually go?
Mojo's.
Yeah, I end up just going to the one closest to my house because I just pick up little bits and pieces.
Yeah, it depends on what you're shopping for. Like if I need a tube, I'm going to go to the close one. But if I need a set of wheels, I'm going to go to another one. Or if I need something like that,
Between Sam and, like, he does the things I can't do for service, so I haven't, to be honest, I've never dropped my bike off at a shop because it takes too long to get it back, and then you don't have your bike.
Yeah.
So it's Sam and I just knock it out in one day or something. So I just go for little bits and pieces, and so I just go to the closest shop.
Yeah. You ever been talked down to by a shop employee?
Oh yes.
I think I definitely have. The second, though, that I mention like a very, very particular word, then it kind of clicks in for the other person. So like if you call it bar tape rather than like the handlebar wrap, instantly they're like, oh, okay. I feel like you have to break that initial wall down of the store employee to really get them to understand, like, oh, okay, you understand what's going on a little here.
There are shops that I know the employees and I don't get talked down to, but there are shops I'll go into today that still treat me like I'm an idiot. And I understand a lot of the bike shop stigma that gets there. It's almost like record stores back in the 80s and stuff like that. Everybody was cool, worked at the bike shop. I mean, at the record store. And it's like, sometimes it's like the employees there are really knowledgeable in what they do, but they really don't understand necessarily sales and customer service. And I think that's something about the LBS that sometimes really kind of drives me crazy, because it's like going, well, it depends on what you want to do and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like going, dude, I just want a fucking tube. Let me go get. Can I help you find something? Yeah, I want a tube. Well, what size? I'm like, just point me to the fucking tubes. I know where I'm going, or something like that. Or, I might ask something about, I don't know, pressures or something like that. And then they just get into this huge spiel. And I've heard of people, there are a lot of people there, a lot of stories online of people going in there, especially women going into bike shops. And they're like, oh, shrink it and pink it. I'm going to take you over here to the cool, pretty pink bike because you're a girl. And it's like, don't do that. And so I think that is sometimes a downside of what they're running into. And what would you change? And also the allure of bike shops themselves. We've talked ad nauseum on this show about what could get you to go to a shop on a consistent basis. And we've talked about, the beer and the wine and the coffee and all that kind of stuff. That's a huge investment for a bike shop owner who's barely trying to make it going by changing flat tires for Billy down the street. What some shops are leading rides. Some shops are, you're having to reinvent how you get people in the door. Have you guys heard of anything that works or something like that would even attract you to go to a shop on a regular basis?
I used to just go when they had the pretty bikes in the window. They never have the pretty bikes in the window anymore.
Because people smash and grab.
Yeah, there's too many smash and grabs. But I used to just go look at the bikes and be like, whoa, someday I'll have one of those.
Yeah.
maybe.
I mean, this is something that I've thought about for a lot. I think that it's definitely a different time to have any sort of business. You know, you can't just open store and be like, okay, that's it. Come on in.
Yeah.
Where are the people? You can't do that anymore. You have to cater to so many different avenues. I mean, social media is, a starting point. I think that that's a place to just kind of get a message out. But then I think that a lot of our local shops, particularly, I think Mojo does a really good job with this. But community engagement, I think, is like a huge part of what a local bike shop needs. They need to build a community of their own bike shop, almost a culture.
Yeah.
So to say, like is a word that I think of. Because I think if you don't do that, then nobody's going to suggest your shop. Because if you go in and you meet the people that are leading the rides that work at said shop, and you're like, wow, they're really cool, go to them. They're going to be really nice. They'll help you through it on everything. And I find that a lot of the time going into a bike shop, I look at it as a collaboration moment. And I think when you meet people that are willing to collaborate with you on what you want from that experience, I think that's what keeps someone going back to the shop. Not the person that's going to talk down to you and tell you that you need to shrink it and pink it.
And when I go to a shop, for example, if I go to REI, I don't want a guy who's an expert in carabiners, telling me how to do something different, on my bike just because he happened to be in that area. I worked in the ski industry for a long time, and I remember I'd be accidentally in the snowboard room, and somebody'd ask me a question, and I would pull shit out of my ass making stuff up, and the snowboard guy'd come over to me and go, "Shh, Pat, shut the fuck up, I got this," and I'm like, "Thank you, God," because I felt like an idiot. Paul, you worked in a shop for a long time. Was this even thought of, the fact that creating this social dynamic, that creating this community was ever going to be a part of the equation? You just opened the doors and let people come in, right?
That's what the owner of that business, that's what how he wanted it. He didn't want music. He didn't want distraction. It was kind of stale. And there's many winter nights that I would just, clean so much and looking around and trying to reorganize and display things and hearing the buzzing of the fluorescent lights. It's got to be a better way. And I remember in 1990, I came up with an idea that's everybody does now is a coffee shop. The thing is you got to bring people in, even if they're just, whether they're going there. I wanted people to have experience of cycling, having TVs going on, not particularly having, the sound of the event going. Maybe Paris-Roubaix over here, Tour de France from 1986, blah, blah, blah. There's like 3 or 4. So you had this kind of theme going. I didn't want to get into food. There's more coffee and like over-the-counter stuff.
But what about like avocado toast?
See, come on. Now the labor goes up. Yeah. But anyway, it's one of those things
These
where...
avocados are not right. I want to send it back.
Yeah, it's then you're dealing with, food spoilage and food costs and stuff. But, to me, it's like keeping it simple, but have a lounge where people can just sit around and BS. And in the winter months, because there was some customers that would come in and just basically shoot the shit with me. And we'd talk about bike racing or different bike parts or whatever. What I heard is coming down, you know what Shimano's doing? They're coming out with this STI brake. What? And that type of thing. You can shift
your bike from your brakes.
You don't have to use down tubes.
Yeah.
So, all that. And it was fun for me because it made those long dark winter days, fly by.
Yeah.
And I thought, and I proposed it to my then boss, and he's like, oh, no. And I knew how to do coffee because my friend Jay, who before Starbucks was what it is now, before when I had their IPO and went big, he trained me how to do coffee the right way, and I used to pour coffee. Yeah. And I thought, I've got the skill, I've got and I'm thinking this is what we should do. This section that nobody seems to go to in the store, you have a lounge and you set up like merchandising. It's all about items that kind of stick. You make them. People walk around them so they see them instead of tucking them in the corner. Yeah. And it's like a dark corner or something. People just... Anyway. Yeah. That's the stuff that I think you have to create, and I think it stimulates if you do that, like what we've been talking about, just so that people don't feel like they're going to the bike shop just to buy something.
Yeah. Right.
They're going there and, they can sit down and talk to somebody and have a coffee or a beer or...
Yeah.
Or avocado toast or whatever.
Yeah.
There are times that like I want to stop by just to look around, like because there's new things that are out. And back when there was a cafe in the local bike shop by my house, I mean, I would go there all the time, and it was so nice to be able to be like, oh, I'm going to get this avocado toast and a coffee. And then they're making it, and I'm like looking at all the new bikes.
Yeah.
And like you get exposure to the products, and people aren't bombarding you with like, oh, can I help you buy something? Like you're saying, it takes the pressure off of buying it in that moment, and you get the chance to just kind of expose yourself to the product.
You
over
walk
and over.
by it enough,
and then
and
you buy
one day
it.
you're gonna have like, I've had 2 Saint Bernardus.
Yes.
I'm buying that goddamn thing.
And an avocado toast.
You're mine.
Throw in the avocado toast and I'll buy 2.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, avocado toast. So and I don't know how related this topic is, but I saw these articles and I wanted to bring it up to you guys, and so I kind of sent them to you earlier. And so this is somewhat related. Cycling Weekly recently published an article discussing the inclusive nature of the sport and the lack thereof. And I'm going to preface it with this that I'm kind of tired of this, and not of inclusivity, but being told to be more inclusive. I consider myself a somewhat open-minded person, and most Nazis probably do too. But I've never told anyone not to be a bike rider. I've never not wanted or waved or talked with a fellow bike rider. And I love seeing people of all types out there bike riding. But apparently as a white man, I tend to be the problem. And this article kind of alluded to that. I'm drawing conclusions, but there are moments where cycling definitely needs more people of more diversity. Absolutely. But I don't know if yes, I host a podcast and I should talk about these types of things, and that's why we're doing this. But I don't know if it should be severely resting upon the shoulders of the guys who've been bike racing for a long time, because they're the guys who've been racing for a long time, if that makes any sense. So what are your guys' thoughts, just to start off, your thoughts on cycling and inclusivity? Is there a problem? Paul nodded. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, of course. It's one of those sports that's, very male-centric, like a good portion of other sports in this world. Or at least the attention is given towards the male side of the sport, for sure.
Do you say that through the advertising, the marketing, any other specific
all of
elements?
it?
Okay,
all of it, really, because
guys who are riding looking like this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, scrunching their face up. Yeah. There's that. We had a recent pretty hefty blunder when it comes to the UCI and not willing to put the effort in to give us TV coverage of a women's race.
Yeah.
And I think that we're at that point now where nothing's realistically going to change without the change in power. If we're really thinking about it, unless there's some sort of diversity change within that governing body, it's just it's all gonna stay the same. I think that when you look around, what are the women's fields like at local races?
Terrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's because it's all.
Do women come out?
Yeah, right.
Well,
no.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's because it's all catered towards men. You see advertisements of races. What do the images look like? When you don't see people that look like you, are you really going to be keyed in to race that type of event? Probably not.
Yeah.
I will throw this out a little bit on the defense of promoters, at least locally. There's many, many times where women have like the same prize list, and less entry fee to encourage that. Mm-hmm. I'm sure their advertisements probably like shows a guy raising his hands for victory, as opposed to a woman. But I don't know if that would. For me, getting into the sport, I think all of us, first time you pull up to your first group ride, you're thinking, I look like a total dick.
Yeah.
I stand out. Mm-hmm. I'm still wearing my underwear underneath my shorts or something. It's tough to crack. It really
Yeah.
is, and even as easy it is as a white male, I'm sure it's way tougher for them. But I think where you were going is that as a white male, I don't think I should direct or try and figure out how to solve this problem.
Yeah.
I think it needs to be a collective of people of diversity. I'll be more than glad to do whatever I can to help you, but I need you to direct it.
Yeah.
Because all I'm going to do is do what I know, and it's a white male's thing to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and that's how I feel, and it's unfortunate, but just let's get together. You guys want to know this is how we do it, and you may have to tweak it instead of shrink it and pink it.
Yeah.
Like, that's probably why those bikes come around.
Right.
Yeah.
Is because they got some, that's how we get
girls like pink.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Well,
let's do girly colors.
Yeah.
Kind
so
of
let's get
Although my wife
women in
loves
the
pink
position.
bikes. My wife does love pink bikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where it's like we as white male individuals can support, but then giving the room for those individuals to voice their own opinions and feelings about it all, I think is as Paul, is what you said, kind of the most important part. Because hearing those voices is what we need more than hearing the same voice.
Yeah. And we've had moments of diversity movements.
For sure.
The Williams brothers, for example, and Legion, and what they created, and the inspiration they created from that. And I think we were talking on our ride about, and I'm scared bringing them up because I'm going to suddenly get bashed online, that they have done some amazing things, but recently they've kind of tarnished that with their childish attitudes, and that's too bad. But I'm not saying that African American and multicultural cycling is resting on their shoulders. There are other examples, and when in reaction to this same article, there were writers from the 1980s who said, "Hey, easy, we experienced a lot of racing with a lot of multicultural riders, even back as far back in the 80s. We're not fighting this. There's not some sort of a backlash, about this. Good God, we want people to show up at bike races. We want big fields. We want all these types of dynamics."
Can I add on that? I can't remember his name, but he was at one time involved with Zwift, and he's black, and he was in LA and used to get in trouble, and in order to get out of trouble, I wish I could remember his story. It was a great story he's telling me about. He had to, I don't know if it's court or his parents told him he had to do something that kept him active. And he got into track racing down in LA.
Wow.
And he actually hid his shoes and his kit away from his friends because he was embarrassed.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of diversity they have to do with, not only with the white dominated male sport that we're in, but also sometimes in their own culture. And so that's something that I can't contribute to. But how does that get broken?
Yeah.
And hopefully the Williams brothers kind of pop that out a little bit.
Yeah.
And that was good to hear. I heard that probably about 5-6 years, maybe 10 years ago. A guy, and I'm like,
I can't remember who that was, but I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. If you can ever hear his story, it's really great.
Nelson Bale, Scott Berryman were both riders who kind of came into it in different ways like that. Now I'm going to back up a little bit here because we're talking about the large picture here, and we're talking about everybody and everything and all this kind of stuff. But on a personal and local level, is it always the individual cyclist's responsibility to accept other cyclists? Because I'll see things online when, let's say I make a post about somebody who is on an e-bike and I think it's bullshit. All of a sudden you're attacked. The vitriol that is thrown at you because you made fun of somebody for the bike they were on. I didn't do it. I didn't attack that person individually, but I did that, or something like that. And we also run into this situation where, what if somebody's just an asshole and I don't want to be nice to him? Well, you got to do it for the good of the sport. Is it okay to not like somebody or not like something anymore? Or have we reached the point in our culture where it's just opposition?
I don't think you have to like everybody and be overtly kind. I mean, there's people that I just don't necessarily want to spend a lot of time around in cycling, but I'm still respectful to them. I would still treat them with respect and expect the same back from them, but I wouldn't hang out with them or choose to ride with them. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I do think that there is issues with, if you don't like somebody, it doesn't mean you're allowed to, treat them poorly, or because again, that is for the better of the sport. We can't be, just because you have a disagreement with somebody and you're on bikes doesn't mean you can be a jerk to them. You should still treat them with respect. You just don't associate with them when you don't have to, and don't ride with them when you don't have to. There's lots of people and opportunity to ride. So,
see, you guys are too nice. I got in a screaming match with somebody in the middle of a downtown crit one year, and it was Mike, the guy you know really well, and I think I told him to fuck off at the top of my lungs.
What did you guys do after the race? Because there's
we
race
didn't
brain.
speak. We didn't speak.
If you knew Mike, he was.
Yeah,
Because there's race brain, and then you can
there
meet
is
up
race brain.
afterwards
There's
and be
the
like,
on bike
that was
asshole.
crazy.
There's the on bike asshole. Absolutely. How about the concept of paying your dues? And yes, I'm sounding like an old fart.
Yeah.
There was always this. I don't. Yes, I had a coach. Yes, I had teammates and things like that. But not everybody in the peloton was like, oh, "Come on in, man. Hey, welcome aboard. We're gonna give you a big hug." It was like, "Fuck you." So I mean.
No such thing. That's how I feel about it.
Of what?
Paying your dues.
There is no such thing?
I don't think so.
Really?
Because I think if you're talented enough, you know the sport. Or I think if you're not even if you know the sport, I think
Even
there is
tactically though. And
But
things
I
like
think
that.
there is the difference between paying your dues and a barrier to entry.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yes. 1,000%. No, I'm not talking about barrier to entry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thank you for clarifying that.
No,
so
for
people
sure.
aren't going, Pat, you're.
Yeah. No, I
you're
think
not
that
being inclusive.
No, yeah, exactly. I think that if you're talented enough, you know what you're doing out there, and you're stronger than the other person. There shouldn't be any such thing as paying your dues. Just because I'm 24 and some guy's 36 racing against me, I don't have to give him the right of way. That's not how this works. That's not how life works.
This isn't medicine.
Yeah. Well, but realistically, everybody's stepping on everybody else to get what they need. So why should, because you've opened your eyes earlier than I did, means that you deserve it more than I do.
Right.
Can you tell that I have a chip on my shoulder because of this?
Yeah.
I just think it's so annoying when people say I've been on this earth longer than you, so I deserve it more. That's stupid.
Yeah.
If you've
Respect
earned,
your elders,
but if
goddammit.
you've earned it, you've got to that point where you rightfully should have that specific thing, then it's yours.
And that's been a dynamic shift. I keep thinking of the Pro Peloton, and I'm looking at Paul, because there was this time
Hierarchy.
when there was the hierarchy in the Peloton. And, I'm not saying it's that way locally. Jesus.
No.
Well, I think we experienced it even locally. If you were new into like when I signed up for the training races and stuff, I didn't know what I was doing, to be honest with you. And you heard about it.
Yeah.
You were in the wrong place, or your line was wrong, or you made a quick little move, and you hear, hold your line, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's part of, I think, that's earning your stripes, not so much anything else. You have to be open to criticism when you're a beginner. Yeah. And once you start following, and I think it happens too. I think racing, even in different regions, I notice the way things are raced are differently. And so as soon as you find, okay, this is how it's done, then you don't have to give away to the 36-year-old when you're 24. It's like, no, I just saw you do this. I'm not giving up my position.
Yeah.
And that's local racing. That's fine. But you don't just get to chop them in a corner. You're
That's
going to
very
hear
di-
it.
yeah, that's very different.
Yeah. But you mentioned the words open to criticism. Are we culturally unable to accept criticism?
Yes.
Is it without claiming it's mansplaining or down talking, or I just talked about a bike shop, being down talked to in a bike shop, so I'm not saying that we live in a perfect world, but are we more hypersensitive to it, or are we able to offer open criticism and say, hey, what you did there was dangerous, it was wrong, you shouldn't do that, or are people going to get just hurt and leave the sport and say, you weren't accepting to me being new to the sport.
I think there's a time and a place for it all. I don't.
That's the hard part, though, is because nobody's going to ever have the time or the place for it.
And sometimes with certain individuals, that's how it is, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I think that some people you can look at and be like, hey, like, that might not have been great. But I also think that it's a level on which you know the person. I can't just come up to a stranger and say, hey, you did a stupid thing in that race. Because
Yeah.
who the hell do I, or what right do I have to go up to that random person and just say, I know better than you?
You do if they almost knocked you out of not going to work on Monday.
But who's to say that they don't already know that?
Yeah.
You know, it's tough.
I think it is. I think especially, and that flashes back this year. There's a well-known Cat 2 rider, and I'm friends with his dad who went to Gravel Worlds. We know who he is.
Sam's right. He's not here.
No, it was
we can
Dan.
talk about
Dan.
him. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking.
But anyway, in the crit, he shot a gap, which I probably would have shot it too.
Yeah.
And he overlapped my wheel. He just kind of misjudged a little bit. I didn't say anything till afterwards, or I think it might have been even when we're on the bike. And he's like really apologizing.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I don't know how many times you got to understand that all of us are going to make a dumbass move at some point, even in a race.
1,000%. I will before
and
tomorrow
you got to
morning.
keep that in your mind when you're giving somebody criticism, as opposed to what the fuck, you know?
Yeah.
You just about took me down. We were taking a whole pack.
Yeah.
And you've never done that.
Yeah.
So that's what I think. That's the attitude that needs to change in bike racing, and that's where people are like,
But the attitude that also
you think I want to take the whole pack out?
Yeah.
the
course
attitude
not,
that
you
the
know?
attitude that has changed though is the ability of somebody to come up to you and say, "I'm so sorry, man. Are you okay? I fucked up."
Yep.
Yeah.
Nobody's willing to say that.
Well, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that's
I'm saying culturally, everybody's right.
Yeah, yeah.
Just look at their online profile. Everybody's
sure.
right
Yeah.
all the time. And nobody's willing to, you can't talk to anybody these days. And I know I'm sounding like an old guy, and just deal with it. You can't talk to anybody these days about anything, and nobody's going to walk away from you going, God, you were right. I'm sorry. Man, you changed my entire perspective.
Mm-hmm.
From the political spectrum all the way down to, Peter Sagan's career. It's just, it
cut deep, didn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
It just blows me away that there's never that humility, that empathy, the ability to walk up and say, Paul, I cut across your wheel, man. So sorry for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Am I overreacting?
No,
Am I being
I think you're right. I think
hyperbolic here?
that like starting when I feel like when I started cycling, in 2012, 2013, whatever.
Yeah.
People were, by the time they were like halfway through their 10 Cat 5 races, they were professionals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They knew everything there was.
They were 2 sprint wins away from a pro contract.
Yes. And unfortunately, like, there was that mentality of like, I'm always right. You were in my way, that sort of thing. And what you're talking about, that's an outstanding situation because you have an outstanding human who responded appropriately. But yeah, typically you call somebody out and they immediately go on the defensive.
Yeah.
And no, you shouldn't have been there. You should have held your line, whatever. And it's unfortunately that is, I think, part of the culture because of what you just mentioned with all of the other dynamics in the world right now. People are instantly professional. They are instantly experienced after 5 Cat 5 races.
And they have a support group online of 10 people who agree with everything they say.
Yeah.
And we don't have any opposition. We don't have anybody who says, well, I hate to tell you this, but...
This is the importance of the local legend, okay?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, don't take your roles lightly here.
Yeah.
Because there was a guy when I was in college who was 60 years old. He was a fudging legend. He was still a Cat 1 and would beat a lot of young Cat 1s. And he would come up to you in a race and just be like, what the fuck are you doing? That was the dumbest thing. And everybody would just look at him and be like, yeah, you're right. Like because he was a freaking legend.
Yeah.
And when he told you to stop doing something, you stopped.
Yeah.
But
Patron.
you need that figure to tell you that. It can't be some random guy you just met in a race who's going to be like, you did this wrong. You don't know anything about him, but your local legend comes up to you and they tell you, you're like, oh, all right, well.
Yeah.
I don't know how I would take if an older guy came up to me and said that. I don't know if I would take it in.
Yeah.
Because
fuck you, old man.
well,
Okay, boomer.
yeah.
Boomer.
Well, because I mean, I'm the type of person that is very aware of my own mistakes to a point in which that I beat myself up. Not everybody's like that, though. You know, a lot of people take criticism in different ways. For years, I was told that I was worthless when I was playing soccer. And no, it was not my own father. But
Phew, I'm glad we got that cleared up.
yeah. And I mean that hardens a person for sure. And so that kind of helped me take it a little bit better. But I think that I do agree with the fact that a lot of people now, they can't take a lot of criticism because they haven't had coaches tell them they're worthless, and nobody should have to go through that if we're being really honest about it. But I will say on the flip side of things,
do you though?
I think that kind of sometimes you need experiences where you can internalize it, figure it out by yourself, and then apply it is a big process that a lot of people don't understand. I was going to say, though, on the flip side of things, hearing what Paul has to say about a local guy racing, and even in my own experience, when I crashed, the guy who thought he'd caused it, who didn't, by the way, came up to me and said, "I'm so sorry. Like, are you okay?"
Yeah.
Another outstanding individual.
Exactly. And that shows that I think that we have a really great community locally that is willing to own up to their own mistakes in a lot of cases. And so while there are a lot of people out there, I think that it's also good to remember that
we have a lot of good ones too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you for...
They're overshadowed.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But
That's
you're
the case, though. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. And I think we run into a lot of that where, you know, and the squeaky wheels also shut down races. The squeaky wheels are the ones who go online and complain. The squeaky wheels are the ones who demand certain elements for the sport. And, you know, and I don't know, there's so many angry people, and it just, it's hard. It's hard
being a well-oiled ball bearing.
Yeah. Right?
Hard being a ceramic bead.
Yeah.
Bearing. Never stops turning.
Oversized pulley.
Yeah.
That's a weight joke for me. I'm an oversized pulley.
No.
Giggity.
All right. Well, I don't think we solved any problems, but it was a good conversation. Let's switch to time to ask Dr. David. Should I give you the bumper? I'll give you the bumper. It's time to ask Dr. David. This week, it's about the cramps. Not that band, but the actual ones. If you've ridden yourself into exhaustion, you've likely experienced them. Even Tadej Pogacar had a round of cramping at Lombardy. I don't know if you guys saw that, where he's slamming his fist into his thighs. Some of us even experience them at random times of the day and night, which I could not imagine having the night cramps.
My wife.
Does she?
Yeah, I get those
All the time.
Really?
All the time.
I remember once we finished a winter ride, and CP was sitting in the back of my car, and all of a sudden out of nowhere he just started beating the shit out of the inside of my car because he was having a leg cramp. He's like, "Oh God!" He's just slamming his fist at the side of my. I'm like, "Dude, that's a window." It was a brand new 4Runner, and man, he was just freaking. I had never seen that happen, but
and cramp.
Yeah,
you don't cramp.
At certain times I do. In rides.
You don't cramp afterwards?
No.
Wow.
I've cramped maybe once.
Yeah.
So I have.
You genetic freaks.
Do we get our little input?
Well,
before
hold
you
on.
just
Yeah,
talk?
hold on. Some of us. So there are several home remedies and products out there that claim to alleviate the dreaded cramp. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about cramps. We're going to see what you do to prevent or even alleviate them at the time when they're happening, and then we're going to see what we get from Dr. David. So Paul, you had something. So
Yeah, because I will get them afterwards probably more so than I do on a ride. I'll get them on the ride also. But my wife doesn't matter what.
Middle of the night.
Like all the time, especially as a nurse, because I think some of her timetable is thrown out. But I listened to this guy on cramps, and they really, according to this one doctor, and he'll fill us in too, they really don't know why. But it was interesting that people of German descent have a worse problem. CP's last name ends in Schmidt.
Schmidt.
Yeah, and my wife is over 50% German.
Wow, yeah.
And her grandmother and her aunt and like all her side of the family. I don't know if her mom might get a little bit,
Wow.
but her side of the family in Germany all have massive problems with it.
Really?
So,
Wow.
Yeah.
I think
It's from
Sam
being,
and I have quite a bit of German, and we both cramp
it
pretty
is-
bad. Yeah.
It's from being so tense all the time.
That's right.
So, what?
I am going to get the cramps.
Did you say so handsome?
Some being so tense.
Oh,
and handsome too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
handsome.
Yeah.
And handsome. Absolutely stunning. Jackson, you said you've had one or two?
In my life, yeah, I've had a foot one, which those suck.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
one
My wife
sucks.
gets them.
Yeah, that's the worst one. But
Toes bend and
yeah,
Oh.
yeah, exactly. But other than that, I mean, I cramped one time when I did RC3 a couple of years ago, but that was it.
You didn't in BWR?
Never cramped in BWR. It's because I threw it all up afterwards.
Yeah.
So
I get them probably due to dehydration situations in long events. Leadville, I had some calves. My calves both went at different times and things like that. I've heard of pickle juice. I've heard of what was
Hot
that?
shots.
Hot shots. I've heard of some people using like almost like a cinnamon and jalapeno to
what
try
was
and
it that
distract
you
your
had
brain.
at Leadville? Remember somebody?
That
gave
was
you-
the hot shot.
Was it?
And they were handing them up because my calf had gone maybe a mile earlier, and they're like, "Hey man, you getting cramps?" And the guy's handing out these bottles, these little vials. I mean, he could have been handing out methamphetamine, and I probably would have taken it and just gone, "Whatever."
you probably would have
drank
won if it was
at that
meth.
guy.
Probably would.
Yeah, I probably would have won.
That would have
Yeah.
helped.
He
Yeah.
kept going.
Yeah, Keegan Swenson's hair goes flying over. But and I took a shot of it, and it was like cinnamon, nutmeg, and jalapeno, and I just went. I looked at the guy next to me, and I went, "What the fuck did he just give us?" He's like, "I don't know, man. I'm gonna drink it anyway," and we were just out of it. So, David, talk to me about philosophy on why they happen and how to prevent them. Do you have anything?
Yeah. I think, Paul's right. We don't necessarily know 100% with everybody why cramps occur. There's typically 3-ish mechanisms for a young or a healthy, not necessarily young, healthy athlete. It's either...
Thank you.
Youngish.
Sorry, I couldn't help it.
You kind of glanced real quick over.
I should include everybody.
Not so much.
Healthy, not necessarily young. Number one would be dehydration. Electrolyte imbalances is number 2, and then just fatigue and exhaustion would be number 3. And then drugs, in my world, cause cramps in people who aren't exercising. But in the exercise world, it's typically one of those 3. So usually these remedies are targeted at one of those few things. So like pickle juice is typically targeted at hydration with all the salt and the electrolytes in it. I looked into that Hot Shots product that you guys mentioned.
Yeah.
That is primarily cane sugar, and then there's some spices in it. I don't know how the spices would help, but the cane sugar is probably just getting at the exhaustion, the fatigue and the exhaustion, partway through your ride or at the end of your ride. And then I don't know, what are some of the other remedies? Bananas, they say always, like, but that's
For
like
the potassium.
it's for the but there's actually not as much potassium in a banana as you think. Gosh, what did that Russian guy I told you about? He always had the greatest. What did he? Oh, he always used to say bubbly water, and it had to do with the bicarbonate apparently. And he was a PhD MD. I don't know what I should reach back out to him about the reasoning for that, but it's all typically related to hydration, electrolytes, or fatigue. And so, for Sam and I know we cramp towards the end of rides. It's typically related to dehydration, though, on hot days. Mm-hmm. And so staying on top of your drink mixes that have electrolytes and carbohydrates in them so you don't let your muscles run out, staying on top of the fluids so that you don't get dehydrated. Those are really the best things that you can offer people. You can prehydrate beforehand with, salt-heavy drinks and water. Yeah, it's not the best, but you get yourself fully hydrated, and it does tend to reduce the number of cramps. Stretching pre and post ride unfortunately helps.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
raise your hand if you do it.
It's like when you find evidence that unfortunately brushing your teeth is good for you.
Yeah, there you go.
Brush my teeth. I am the only person in the room who's willing to be honest and say there's occasional times when I'm like, I'm just going to bed. Yeah.
That's when your wife isn't around. Right.
No, we just sleep facing away from each other.
I see.
Yeah.
It's funny you brought up like carbonated water. So my wife, because she's tried everything, magnesium has been, people say they use magnesium, blah, 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 blah. And she came across this one patient just in the last week that she was watching. And he has a bad problem, but he said tonic water. But it is probably just the carbonation.
It's the carbon. It's something to do with the bicarb, because when you have an increased amount of bicarb, did we already talk about that?
Yeah, we did last week.
Yeah. When you have an increased bicarb to the kidneys, it affects all of the electrolytes. The acid base affects the way your kidneys will reabsorb things. So somehow maybe that's beneficial, and unfortunately I don't know the answer to it. But I think people need to look at when they're cramping. And use a little bit of reflection, like, it was 100 degrees that day and I was 2 hours in and I ran out of water and I cramped. Well, maybe your problem is dehydration.
Yeah.
Yours, I would assume, if it's happening after the fact, is actually probably electrolytes.
Electrolytes.
Fatigue is typically towards the end of your ride. And then once you've stopped, you don't typically cramp if that's the issue. So
that's a good prescription.
But maybe
right
it would be, and maybe stretching would help you, unfortunately.
Yeah. I'm pretty limber.
Yeah. You do seem pretty limber. Yeah.
I am not.
I'm loose.
And I always just love watching people just beat the shit out of themselves. It's like, they're hitting the muscles, and I'm like, I can't do that. I'll try to stretch that moment, but usually it's just like, for the next 45 seconds, I can't move, and I hope I have enough momentum on the bike before I tip over. That's pretty much it, because my calves go, and that's where it's like, I wonder if I'm gonna. Yep. And that's it. Yeah.
I had some minor cramps on our ride on Saturday.
Did you?
Yeah. Towards the end, I started feeling just.
Where
at? In my quads. Did you mean where?
Mine's
on the
right
ride?
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have dogs.
God dang.
Jason, I guess we're
great.
good. We're genetically superior.
Yeah.
When it comes to cramps, at least.
Yeah, well, if I'd only put it to use, maybe
Too
something
bad
like
you're
that.
not women.
Yeah, exactly.
No cramps.
Yeah. So this week's pack filler picks, I picked them last week, but let's see what Pat picked. My first one is a pretty much a given. I found Silka the chain wax I bought it probably 6 to 8 months ago. And I didn't do it, and then I finally broke down and used it. $42 for a container, and I dumped it into a little, one of my other recommendations, crock pot that Jackson gave me, and I dropped the chain in, everything like that. My drivetrain has never been so quiet.
Did you clean it beforehand, or do you just
brand new chain?
Oh, new chain.
Brand
you
new
took
chain.
the grease off the packing.
Brand
grease,
new chain, yeah.
And use that with your Sonic.
Yep.
Cleaner.
Yep.
So you clean it with the Sonic cleaner, and then you put it in there.
Put it in the wax.
And then did you reapply?
I haven't yet.
What,
I've gone
what?
probably 60 days
On one
on
application?
One wax. Yeah.
And you don't do lube?
Nope.
Just wax.
Just the wax.
Is that normal?
I think
It
so.
depends on, usage. You can have it on for 60 days and not ride a bike.
That's
it's
true.
gonna last a long time.
Oh.
But I'm just saying.
Is it? But you get more out of a wax? That's amazing.
That's not just one wax.
Ideally.
I probably got, 30, 40 waxes out of this container, out of this bag.
But you waxed it once, and you haven't.
I've done it once.
for multiple rides.
Now, I haven't ridden in the rain on it yet, and I haven't done any of that stuff like that, but
The weight between oiling and waxing is that the process of waxing your chain is labor intensive.
Sure, but it
That's
lasts
the
longer.
thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. all right.
So you
It's
get
really
to
nice.
make
Sign
that
me
choice,
up.
and you have to have more equipment.
Yeah. These are all links on packfiller.com. So $42 for that container. I like the shit. It's good stuff. My
One more
next
thing to
one
wax.
is the thing to get you through. Uh-oh. There it is. It's a little mini crock pot to have in your shop. You're not going to put queso in this.
Oh, really?
It's $29, and mine still has the dried wax in it. Now, all I'm going to do is next time I need to, I just click it on right on my workbench, wait maybe half hour, 45 minutes, maybe an hour. I don't know. I haven't melted it yet. It'll be good to go. Drop the chain in there, take it out with a coat hanger kind of a thing. hang it up someplace
Or
where it
spoke.
won't trip. More spoke, yeah,
Is
yeah.
your
spoke works great.
drivetrain pretty clean? I'm like really amazed at the duration
It's
here.
it's clean.
Take a look at the end of the show.
Yeah, it's I don't get dink marks. Well, I never let myself.
The only
get dink
drawback
marks.
that if you do indoor training, that wax does fall off onto your floor.
It will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it will. But yeah, so I love that shit. So this one's $30 for that little thing, and well, unless you have a son who got one for a random gift.
Yeah. Got it from your own father.
Really?
Yep.
Oh. Well, if anybody has anything to add or subtract, fire away. I'm just kind of throwing them out there. And last but not least, the best thing for indoor training is the Samson laptop stand. It is basically kind of what DJs, I think, use or something like that. This is $50, $55. It's not cheap. But Jackson, I know you have one. Mm-hmm. Sam was coveting ours at the Beer Mile. Mm-hmm. It's like a glorified music stand, but it's got a non-slip pad on it. It holds your laptop. I put my TV remotes next to it, and nothing falls off, and all that kind of stuff. I can reach over and do all that kind of shit. And I don't know
Do
what
you
the
have room
one.
for a beer?
No, that goes in my
Needs
water
a cup
bottle.
holder,
okay.
yeah.
It goes in my water bottle.
Really upgrade that.
I could probably put mount one on the edge of it. But it's solid. It's a tripod base, and it is not going anywhere.
Yeah, I like mine. The only thing that I find that's difficult about it is you really got to make sure that you tighten that screw that's holding the tilt
Fore
of
and aft
the platform.
kind of a thing. Yeah.
Because if you don't, I've had devices fall off. Luckily, none
shit.
are broken, but
Okay.
you just got to make sure on that for sure.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's great to have. You can pack it up for someone who lives in an apartment. It's great. So yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, and I don't know what the other ones from somebody who kind of mildly endorses this show is, but this is $55, and it, like I said, how long I bought them for us before COVID.
It was my
And they're not
20
going
I
anywhere.
think it was my 21st birthday.
Oh shit! Okay, so
3
yeah.
years.
Yeah, good shit.
Yeah.
Good shit. Recommended them highly. I'm gonna start to swivel here soon because
I don't
You
even have
gotta
to
go
pee.
potty?
Yeah, I don't know
I
what's
do.
going on.
I do. So we might as well get to the final question, the final K of the show. And that is, gentlemen, what is the next major purchase you would like to make?
Gravel bike.
Major purchase. David
There goes David.
immediately answered.
Bam.
Gravel
Except
bike.
when I say gravel bike, I want a new cross bike that I will do with all the other people doing gravel.
You want
but
a
I will-
gravel bike that has race angles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a little
Specialized.
less. Yeah, a little.
Yeah.
I don't need like 50 or 60, whatever they're going up to now with the tire size. 2.5, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So gravel bike.
Okay.
Yeah, and new road shoes.
Oh, that's two.
I'm sorry I couldn't help it. I
That's
really
okay.
want to retail therapy this time of year.
Which one's first? The bike or
Probably
the
the
shoes?
shoes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
probably.
starting with the small stuff first. Paul?
I would have to lean on shoes. Mine are 6-7 years old.
Yeah.
They're starting to hurt my feet.
Oh, shit.
Mm.
And they're not. God, remember when they weren't so expensive? Like
I know.
$400 or $500.
That's my Bach. That's what
Yeah.
I'm like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jackson?
Man, I'm in the market for all the bikes. But I think what I want I want to prioritize is a racing cross country bike, mountain
Nice.
bike.
Mountain bike.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For the 24-hour mountain bike race next year.
Well, if I get a bike for free, I will.
really making
Or
this
a really,
hard.
really limited cost.
Really good price.
Yeah.
Me, I want a helmet that doesn't drip sweat into my eyes.
Doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You sure?
It's a phenotype.
What?
You and I.
Wow, that's a big
Really?
word.
Yeah, that is a big word. What does
like,
the word mean?
It's like it's the way we are.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the shape
So,
of our face and the
because
amount
it-
we sweat.
But it
and-
didn't always happen that way.
It didn't for you?
No.
I've never had a helmet where I'm not, at like a couple hours in, I'm not drenching my glasses.
Do you
Really?
remember the helmets that did not do that for you?
Well,
Were they
that's
leather?
Yeah. The
Well, that's-
hairnet.
Yeah.
that
Was
was,
it
so
back in
funny
the days
because
when
for
you
so many
casket.
Yeah.
The
I mean,
yeah.
I'll be honest. I rode, up until the revolution of helmet design. I rode a Brancali, which was,
Oh yeah.
like a little plastic hockey helmet on your head. And then when Giro came along, I rode Giro all the way up until 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wore a POC. and My Giro was doing it too. So nothing against great supporters of the show. It's just, and it's not something that has just happened in my later years in life. Although my nose has been running more in later years of my life, and I don't like that. I am farmer blowing like every mile nowadays, and I don't like that. But
welcome to old age.
Really? Now, but it just like happened in the last 2 months.
I know.
Is it just a switch?
I guess. I don't know. We're just
son of a.
We're disintegrating. You and I.
We are. We're just melting.
Everything's just.
Maybe
the metabolism's down. Everything's drooping.
Brains are
falling,
dripping out of my nose as we
terrible.
proceed.
Yeah.
So, all right. Speaking of which, I was told to use this. It's our outro.
Nice.
See the static in
Lo-fi.
the background?
Yeah, I like it.
It's kind of mellow. Is it too mellow?
No.
It's pretty mellow.
It's a good preview to
I
our
like it.
upcoming
It's an
beer mile
outro.
video.
This is how you exit. You don't get people all jacked and it's like brick wall landing.
Adios, bye.
So that brings us to the end of the show. Thanks for everybody for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the show or our YouTube channel and drop us a review on your favorite podcasting provider. It costs you very little to do that, very little time in which to do that, but it helps us a boatload. So, this is really mellow.
I like it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm going to start the person who composes all this music is going to be a regular. He's going to be on the Packfiller site, so you can check him out,
Love
and
it.
he'll compose music for you there. So,
Love it.
you going to sleep, David?
Yeah. I'm going to sleep well.
Thanks, everybody. We'll catch you next week.